We're 3 weeks from spring training, at least for pitchers and catchers. Is the Guardians offseason over? We'll talk about that. If there's anything left they can do this offseason, we'll talk about ownership, accountability, and commitment. I got some questions about that. And we'll talk about how winning is contagious on today's Locked On Guardians.
Tanner Bobby of the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Locked On Guardians. I'm your host, Justin Ladd. On today's show, we're going to talk if the Guardians' offseason is over, if there's anything left for them to consider to do. Got a couple of candidates for that as well. We're also going to talk what the Guardians' extension plan looks like going forward, what we can expect and what we cannot expect at this point from them. We'll talk about ownership commitments and what we want to hear from owners and accountability and what other commitments they have out there. I think that's an important point to bring up today. We'll also talk about winning is contagious. I found out in one franchise how it can make a difference, and I think it's a pretty obvious one. So we'll talk about that at the end of today's show. Before we get moving along on today's episode, Game Time. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $20 off your first purchase. I am Justin Ladd, your host for today. Of course, if this is your first time being here, thank you for joining us on Locked On Guardians. My co-host Jeff Ellis has the day off. I'll be back with you on Friday, but I've been covering the Guardians minor league system all the way back, going back to 2007 at places like Burning River Baseball. It's pronounced Lajoie, and was also previously the editor-in-chief of Guardians/Indians Baseball Insider for a couple of years. Currently at the News Herald, the Morning Journal, Prospects Live, and my own newsletter next year in Cleveland on Substack. Would love to have you over there. I got some big stuff coming over on the Substack, so if you sign up, you definitely want to hear about that. Before we get going again, usual top of the podcast announcements. Again, Live Stream Fest. We can't do Guards Fest this year. We're trying to do something different. Live Stream Fest. So if you are a Locked On Guardians insider, you should definitely sign up to do that. Again, we're having great conversations over there. A lot of fun. A lot of kind words over there, too. A lot of great people who are just really appreciate them being part of the conversation about anything baseball related, obviously Guardians related, but when anything happens in baseball, we're over there talking about it, just having fun conversations and asking questions and just being curious about baseball in general. So join us over there on the Locked On Guardians Insider. The link is there on YouTube. It's also in the show description. And on February 1st, Jeff and I will be hosting Live Stream Fest for you to join. Insiders can join with the link, and we can just talk baseball for a couple of hours and have a lot of fun. And instead of just chatting with us through, YouTube, you can actually get on call with us and just go back and forth and have a lot of fun. So if you want to be a part of that, sign up to be a Locked On Guardians Insider today. We have some guests confirmed for that. We're waiting on confirmation of other guests too. We'll let you know when that does happen. And as we've been saying too, we're also very close to 4,000 subscribers on YouTube. The last I checked, I think we're at like 3,700. So we're getting really close. We'd love for you to join us over there too, to get to 4,000 before the season starts. All right, let's get on with today's show. Before I get into extensions and the offseason, let's do a little follow-up on Miles Straw trade, because we got a lot of comments about our Miles Straw trade takes from Monday. And a lot of people who didn't like that I reached into the cheap zone area. And that's fine. I'm usually not the Dolan's cheap kind of argument guy. I never have been. I'm very realistic about ownership, and I don't like to talk about it very often because I find it to be a very unproductive conversation, considering there's not a whole lot we can do about it, and we have this reality. But I think the more and more you look at it in baseball and sports, it's also not fair to just sit here and say, well, this is all we get, accept it or don't like it, or don't watch. I don't think that's a fair thing to say either. I think there are certain questions that are worth asking and certain commitments that you should be, if you're spending your time committing to watching games, going to games, buying merch, being invested, then it's reasonable to have some expectations of what your team is giving back for your time and your money and your attention. So the reason I went in this direction on the Miles Straw trade, saying it was cheap, again, I addressed this in some of the comments, but I'll say this. Look at the Philadelphia Phillies trade. Now, they got Dylan Campbell from the Dodgers in exchange for international bonus money that allowed them to sign Roki Sasaki. The Dodgers didn't even have the most money in the international bonus pool. The Blue Jays did, and the Padres did, and they still didn't get him, which, says a lot of things about the Dodgers, right? But the Phillies were able to add a prospect to the organization who might have value. I do like Dylan Campbell a little bit. He is from Texas, and there's been some, not so great outcomes for Texas hitting prospects from the University of Texas. Just because of the environment down there, and they don't really translate well to the pros, but that's a different story. Dylan Campbell is still a valuable prospect. The Phillies can attempt to develop him. They can attempt to trade him in the future for something in the major leagues. He adds value to the organization for right now. The Guardians, instead of adding value to the organization through this trade directly with Miles Straw, they took this as an opportunity to offload a contract they were already paying. And that's why I bring up the money aspect of this. Would you rather see your team trade away or trade that international money if they're not going to use it, in which case Cleveland, I think that's fine because Cleveland's not done a great job in the international market. They should be looking to add through other avenues anyway. But would you have rather them traded the international money to Toronto or whoever, even the Dodgers, and gotten Dylan Campbell instead of just giving up Miles Straw's contract? So instead of adding Dylan Campbell to the organization, the Guardians decided they wanted to take the opportunity to offload the Miles Straw contract. So they're using the leverage of bonus pool money to free up financial commitments, whereas the Phillies added a prospect to the organization. Which team is better for that trade? Today, it's the Phillies because they got a prospect out of that deal for money they weren't going to use in the international signing class because it was a weak class anyway. And to be honest with you, it's really a coin flip in a lot of ways in the international class. I mean, the Guardians' best international signings have been, Rocchio and Noel and Angel Martinez, guys that weren't even top money guys. The top money guys for them have really floundered. So the money they weren't going to use, the money they haven't been successful with, they traded away and they used it as an opportunity to get out from under a financial commitment instead of adding a prospect to the organization that could have helped them. Now, it doesn't mean tomorrow or 3-4 months from now, they don't use that financial space, that flexibility, financial flexibility, the most popular jersey on the market that you can't get on the Chinese websites anymore. If they use that freed up money in their budget to add something to the organization right now to help them in 2025, 2026, whatever it is, then they're better for the trade. And we said this all offseason, right? We said this all offseason with moving Josh Naylor, moving Andres Gimenez. If they do something with the money that they offloaded, then it's a good move, especially the Gimenez deal, because in the Gimenez deal, they were able to get, a pitcher right now and multiple pitching prospects for the future and freed up money. If they use that money on something that actually is going to help them this year and beyond, then it makes all the sense in the world for them to be able to do that. That's not to say the trade doesn't not make sense on its own, considering what Gimenez was and wasn't contributing, at least, and what you thought in the future. But that money that they freed up should be going to help the team in some way. I think it's reasonable to expect that if they're going to do that. And that requires patience. I totally understand that. It requires patience. And we've preached that all offseason long on this podcast about patience, about letting it play out. And we even had comments saying, well, you can fool me once, fool me twice, that we always say they're going to reinvest the savings they have from their moves to free up financial commitments. And they haven't. And that's fair. They haven't. Yet we're willing to say every offseason, be patient, wait for them to see if they actually reinvest the money. We've heard this year after year of them doing it, and they actually don't do it. But we're still giving them the opportunity to do it every offseason and every season. And I'm doing it again here, but I'm saying right now, the Phillies made the better trade because they used the Dodgers' need to acquire international bonus pool money to add a prospect to the organization, whereas the Guardians used the Blue Jays situation, who were more desperate and had more money, to offload a contract salary commitment instead of add to the organization. If it turns out they end up adding to the organization later on because of the money they no longer owe Miles Straw or Andres Gimenez, then that's fine. And we will admit that, and we will talk about that, and we will say what a great move it was. And that doesn't mean it's not a great move up front on its own, but I think there's a second layer to it that has to qualify it to be a good move, other than just offloading salary. Offloading salary for the sake of offloading salary doesn't make this team better unless it actually leads to something that you can see makes them better. The real question now is how the Guardians are going to handle extensions. They've signed Andre Simis and Miles Straw to long-term contracts. They're both gone. The only guys they have under contract left in terms of extensions are Jose Ramirez, obvious one, right? Not going anywhere. No trade clause. Emmanuel Clase, who we're going to talk about in a second, and Trevor Stephan, who we can also mention. That's it. They don't have a lot of internal extensions right now. They've offered some in the past. We know there's some they're not going to go into in the future at this point. We're going to talk about that next. We're going to talk about the other offseason agenda items that they still may or may not address at this point. We will also get into some more ownership stuff in terms of commitments and accountability. And at the end of the show, we're also going to talk about how winning can be contagious. And it's a very, very obvious point. So stick around for that. In sports, we know having a winning strategy is everything. The Dodgers sure have a winning strategy, right? Spend money, win, profit, enjoy. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, the Olympics. The same goes for life. Having a strategy like life insurance from SelectQuote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. And if you want to be like the Dodgers and defer some money, SelectQuote also kind of helps you with that. Makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. They are one of the leading brokers in America with nearly 40 years of experience. They've helped 2 million customers find $700 billion in coverage since 1985. They have a great personal touch. They don't do one-size-all-fits policies. They do policies that are tailored to fit your unique needs. So if you're in good health, you might qualify for same-day coverage up to $5 million, no medical exam, and it's really more affordable. You can put in $20 a month and get to $1 million of coverage. Talk about deferments, right? $20 a month, $1 million in coverage for life insurance. So get the right life insurance for you for less at SelectQuote.com/lockedon. Go to SelectQuote.com/lockedon today to get started. That is SelectQuote.com/lockedon. SelectQuote, they shop, you save. So as far as extensions go, we mentioned that, obviously Jose Ramirez is still around, and Emmanuel Clase has a very team-friendly deal, and the Trevor Stephan one was obviously extremely team-friendly because of his situation being a Rule 5 pick, all that good stuff. How are the Guardians going to handle extensions going forward? Because, again, we're now looking at a payroll of about $90 million for the year. Last year it was $104. So they are now $13 million below that floor of last year. And we know we've talked about the TV deal over the offseason, and they claim they can reach something like 8 million households now with the new MLB deal, which we should hear about. I can address that in a second as well with what I've seen out there. They're going to get less money in their TV deal. So ticket revenue is more important than ever. And we're going to talk about that at the end of today's show too, about winning and ticket revenue. But with extensions going forward, they don't have anybody really of consequence locked up. I mean, Trevor Stephan is a setup guy. He's coming off Tommy John. I think the limitations this year are reasonable, and we know what he is. He struggled a little bit in 2023, the last time he pitched, and he's not really making that much money, so it's really inconsequential. Emmanuel Clase is only going to make $5 million this year. Just under $5 million, and he's going to make under $6.5 million next year in 2026. After that, he's got 2 years at $10 million that are club options. Do we think they're going to pick that up and trade him and pay him $10 million? I don't know. We don't know what things are going to look like in 2027. We don't know. Or 2028. We really don't know. And we're going to talk about 2028 in a second too. We don't really know. But $10 million for a closer seems really reasonable considering what the money out there people are paying for relievers and pitchers this offseason. It's been a good offseason for free agents. It has been. They don't have anybody on their core locked up, though. I mean, again, it's Jose and Clase. That's it. They're not going to get Steven Kwan extended, we don't think, unless they're willing to do something they haven't done in the past, which again is give more guys money in arbitration. And I keep harping on the Tanner Bybee thing. We saw what happened when the pitching factory kind of had some hiccups, and right now the strength of their farm system is not pitching. They have high school pitching. They've got a couple interesting college arms. They're not high-end arms. Like Austin Peterson and Parker Messick, I think they're good prospects, but they're not Tanner Bybee. I don't believe they are. And the high school prospects, you don't really know what they're going to be. Daniel Espino, we have no idea what he's going to look like anymore. Joey Cantillo is still technically a prospect. They added Slade Ciccone. That's great. None of those guys are Tanner Bybee. That's priority number one for extensions. You only have Jose and Clase committed to any serious money. Trevor Stephan's not even making $4 million. His last 2 years of his deal in 7 and 8 are $7.5 million. They're probably not going to pay that unless he all of a sudden is their closer. Cade Smith is another obvious one we talked about this offseason. But do we think they're going to get to the end of these extensions? Probably not. But if they don't, it's still valuable to sign them because they carry value. If you sign Tanner Bybee to an extension now, or Cade Smith, whatever, if it, the Trevor Stephan thing could still pay off. The Class A thing, even at $10 million, think how much money they could still, or how many players they could still get for him, what talent they can get back. It still benefits them to do this. They don't have a young, developed core right now. They are coming off a division-winning season in 2024. They had a division-winning season in 2022. And your core is looking like Tanner Bybee for now, and Stephen Kwan and Jose Counts. But Gavin Williams isn't signing extension because he's a Scott Boras client. And Will Brennan and Logan Allen haven't proved anything. Hunter Gaddis just finally had a great year for the first time. John Kenza Noel, not a guy who's established. Like Lane Thomas is a free agent at the end of the year. You just traded Josh Naylor. Sam Henches is hurt. Tristan McKenzie, you tried to sign him to extension and he didn't agree to it, and now he's probably regretting that because of his health. There's nobody on this core right now of this roster, despite being a division title team in 2024, that you can look at and say, this is a guy we need to extend long-term into free agency, or, a couple years in the free agent. There's nobody, which is weird to say because they were talented enough to win the division last year and go to the ALCS. But as of today, how much money are you putting into Bo Naylor or David Fry or Tim Herron or Brian Rocchio? Those aren't money guys you're trying to lock up long-term right now. It's literally just Tanner Bybee right now and Cade Smith. That is literally it. Quan would be great, but again, that would require a commitment they haven't made in the past. And maybe this is the time they should do it because of the lack of commitments they have. I don't think you're going to get Travis Bazzana to agree to a pre-MLB debut extension, A, because he got a big signing bonus. B, he's going to get some serious money in arbitration or pre-arb bonus pools like we saw with Cade Smith and other guys and Quan. And I think Cleveland also wants to take advantage of the prospect promotion incentive draft too. When they bring up Travis Bazzana, if he wins Rookie of the Year, they can get a draft pick. And if you sign a pre-MLB extension, you lose that. You forfeit that. So I think Cleveland doesn't want to even do a pre-MLB extension because I think they want the draft pick, which would be a risk. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But there's really nobody you can sit here and say they need to commit money to internally. It's literally just Tanner Bybee. And like I said, Cade Smith and Quan. Maybe this is the time they do it with Quan. But we know at the end of contracts, they tend to trade these guys. But that's even then, again, these contracts at the end of them have value. They have cost certainty. Teams want to trade for a guy under contract and not go to arbitration, or maybe have multiple years of control left into a certain year. There's value there. But, they just traded the last two guys they signed extensions to. I don't know how they're going to handle it going forward. All right, real quickly, is the offseason over? So I saw an interesting article today on Jurickson Profar, and Jeff and I had, talked about Jurickson Profar probably off air a lot, and he wasn't really convinced, and I think he had a great year. Obviously, Jurickson Profar, not a great fit defensively, not a great defensive outfielder. He played left field. They don't need a left fielder. He can play second base. He's not great at it, but he's fine. I really wonder what his range is going to be. Nobody seems to know. I don't seem to know. Like, Gleyber Torres took a 1-year deal to bet on himself for a better season, a better payout in 2026. And that's great. Good for him. But nobody else has done that. So I think Profar would be a great fit for Cleveland. And by the way, Jurickson Profar would be a great fit in Cleveland because a career 860 OPS at Progressive Field. Now, only 68 plate appearances, but it's the third best park performance in his career, and it's been a long career as a top prospect. He actually made his debut in Cleveland way back when with the Rangers. Would be a great fit here. A switch hitter. Again, defense is definitely no worse than Juan Brito at second base. He can play the outfield if you need him to. You can DH him. You can move him around. Again, good switch hitter. Had a career year last year. Fangraphs thinks he is going to get 3 years, $45 million. Obviously, that's the case. Cleveland's out, right? We know that. He's 32. Maybe teams think that he won't repeat last year because it was a career high. Maybe they think he won't do it. But Profar would be a great fit. It's been such a good offseason for free agents. Everyone's getting paid. I mean, Alex Cobb got $15 million, $16 million, whatever it was. Absolutely insane. It's been a great offseason for free agents. So I tend to believe the Guardians offseason is over, unless we're talking about more non-roster invitees. I don't know that I see them signing another major league free agent. We keep saying Ha-Seong Kim makes a ton of sense for them too. He's going to miss the start of the season, but he is a guy who might actually have to settle for a 1-year deal because of his medical situation. And he's such a great fit for Cleveland. If anything's going to happen in the next 3 weeks, I think it's Kim. I would love to see them add Jurickson Profar because he's a guy who, again, not great defensively anywhere, but he can play multiple positions. He's a great bat. You can DH him. He can play first. He can DH, play the outfield. He can play second. If you want, he can play third to give Jose a day off. All those things. But we're at the point in the offseason now, and the way things have gone this offseason with pricing, I don't think the Guardians are spending any money in free agency. I just don't. They've already signed Shane Bieber. I don't see them doing anything else. They signed Carlos Santana, and really, in free agency, they technically have spent what, $24 million or $22 million. Shane Bieber gets 10 this year, I think, and Carlos Santana gets 12. They've put $22 million into the payroll. Now they've offloaded plenty, and they don't really have a whole lot of pre-arb raises coming or arbitration raises. They settled under all their arbitration cases. Those are done. You're not getting a lot of pre-arb bumps. You've got Tanner and Will Brennan and Allen and all those other guys who are still pre-arb. The money's not coming from free agency. Again, and this goes back to the argument, it's a great time to lock up Tanner Bybee, and it's a great time to lock up Cade Smith, and it's a great time to do something different and grab a couple extra years of Stephen Kwan. They don't have really any commitments right now, which is crazy. It's very crazy to see that this team doesn't have any financial commitments and doesn't really have anybody you're looking at to sign to those extensions right now. Going into 2015, they had Jan Gomes coming off great years. They had Kluber, they had Brantley, they had Kipnis. All those guys were looking like guys you wanted to get signed into the future right now. And they did all that. They got free agent years bought out of Michael Brantley and Jason Kipnis and Jan Gomes and Corey Kluber. They got into those free agent years with those pre-arb extensions on those guys into that in 2014 and 2015. They developed those guys and turned them into core pieces and extended them. It's right now for the Guardians, it's Tanner Bybee, it's Cade Smith, and it's Stephen Kwan. And none of them are locked up right now. And you don't have any really other serious commitments. And again, the farm system doesn't have a whole lot of guys you're looking at in terms of pitching. So if you're not spending that money in free agency, now is the time to commit it. All right, speaking of commitment, we're going to talk a little bit about ownership again. I know everyone's favorite topic. Everyone's probably really loving this. But interesting news about David Blitzer and his companies. Last week I was saving this one, so we'll talk about that. How much you really want to hear from ownership, and of course, how winning can be contagious, all on the rest of today's show. Guys already know I love going to live events. I'm always looking for tickets to stuff. Cleveland has great comedians. They always get good comedy shows. Theater. I always say it's one of the best theater markets in the country. It's only second to Broadway. Concerts don't really come through here all that often, but we have lots of great live sports, right? You've got the Cavs who are doing great. The Blue Jackets are actually playing really well. If you want to go down to Columbus, they're actually doing pretty well right now. Obviously, like I said, the Cavs are a hot ticket. The Cleveland Charge are, a fun ticket too. All you can do in Cleveland. I know the weather kind of stinks right now, but there's always events in Cleveland, and Game Time makes it easier to get tickets to any event you want to go to with Game Time Picks. It helps you filter out all the deals that you just don't want to do and gives you incredible deals on great seats. It's giving you an idea of the market and to know if you're getting a great deal on that seat. I am always looking on Game Time to see the price of events, to see what the cost is going to be, and maybe make a last minute decision if we're going to go to an event and use Game Time to get that great deal. And all in pricing too. I always turn the all in pricing option on because I hate buying tickets to anything and seeing, well, this is $25 for this ticket, and I think I'm paying $70 at checkout for 2 tickets, and it's like 100 something because of all these fees. But all in pricing on Game Time tells you the total cost up front. No surprise at the checkout. So take out the guesswork of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create the account and redeem our code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Thanks for being here on Locked On Guardians. Again, make sure you're subscribing wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Apple. Make sure you're setting for auto download if you love the podcast. If you want to be reminded to listen to it whenever a new episode comes out, don't miss it. Hit the bell on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribing on YouTube. We are trying to get to 4K. If you haven't been on there yet, maybe you know what? I have a lot of different emails now. I've created a lot of backup emails for accounts, burner emails to sign up for things I don't want going to my inbox. If you're like me and you have multiple emails for different things, subscribe to our YouTube channel on all your emails. Doesn't matter. Give us the 4K. Even if you're not going to check that email, sign up or subscribe on YouTube with one of your backup email accounts if you haven't subscribed already on there. Make sure to join to be an insider again. We are doing Live Stream Fest on February 1st, so you're going to want to be there. I know Sully from Locked On MLB is going to be there. We've got some other guests that we're talking to being there. We're talking about Jeff's friend Taylor Ward, some past guests we've had on the show who want to be a part of it. So we're talking to them about adding them. And if you're an insider, you'll be the first to know who the guests are going to be. You're going to get the link to join us. And again, it's going to be more than just chatting. Actually, be able to jump on a call with us and go back and forth and talk baseball for a couple of hours and try to make up for that void of Guards Fest. And again, we've also told our insiders some more things they can expect from us as well. We're talking about doing bonus episodes for the insiders. Those are going to be Guardians related topics, really deep nerd dives on the Guardians and prospects. And it's going to be other baseball related stuff that we don't get to throughout the week. So we're talking about doing that, exclusive mailbags for our insiders. So join us over there for all that kind of bonus content, as well as draft stuff and newsletters, all that kind of stuff we're going to have over on that program. So make sure you're signing up to join us over there. I saw a news item over last week that I was also saving for this, which was David Blitzer and Josh Harris, the Harris Blitzer Sports Entertainment Group. They are committing a 50-50 venture to build a new arena for the Philadelphia 76ers and the Philadelphia Flyers. So Harris and Blitzer are co-managing partners of the Philadelphia 76ers and the Philadelphia Flyers, the New Jersey Devils too, not the Flyers. But they are committing a 50-50 venture to build a brand new sports arena for the Philadelphia 76ers. You don't see a whole lot of 50-50 ventures in arena building. A lot of billionaires want the public to cover the cost of the arena and tell them it's going to benefit them with jobs and tax breaks and blah, blah, blah. And it's all, financial rigmarole and fake stuff that nobody can really prove that works. Anyway, 50-50 is pretty good split. But it makes me wonder about David Blitzer's other commitments. He's supposed to take over in 2028 of the Guardians. That's supposed to be when he's able to become the majority owner. The first time he's going to be able to be the majority owner of the Guardians. And he's got a full managing partner, co-partner with Harris of the Philadelphia 76ers. And he's got co-managing partner of the New Jersey Devils. He's got his foot or his hands in with not minor league baseball. He sold that one, but he's got his hands in a bunch of soccer teams internationally and domestically. And now he's building this arena. I just wonder how committed he is to the Guardians. We have not ever heard from David Blitzer since he was outside of a written statement since he was brought on as the minority owner. Didn't really hear from John Sherman either when he was here. We don't really hear from the Dolans. And really, to be honest with you, I don't know how much you really want to hear from ownership because it's not like you get a lot of quotes you're really going to like to hear. Like how many how many things have you heard from ownership, not just the Guardians, but in general, the Browns, other teams, the Cubs, the Ricketts had, they had Cubs the convention over the weekend, and Tom Ricketts talked about how they couldn't keep up with the Dodgers payroll and all this other stuff. And the fans love to hear that. So how much do you want your owners in front of the camera? I mean, do you want them to get on camera and say things that are going to make you mad? Do you not want to hear from them at all? I don't know. I don't know how much you really want to hear from ownership, truthfully. You really don't get a whole lot of good stuff out of them when you do, and sometimes it only just makes you more frustrated with them. But I really wonder, like, the Blitzer thing, this whole stadium deal. I don't have any insight. I'm just reading the press release on the stadium deal or the arena deal. And we've never heard from him again since he's taken over as the minority owner of the Guardians. And payroll hasn't changed. And that's what that's what the Dolan said. Payroll is not going to change just because Blitzer's on board. And yeah, a lot of it sounds like he was going to be doing real estate development in Cleveland and buying up real estate around the ballpark and doing Ballpark Village like the Braves have, and trying to turn that into his revenue stream. Because here's the thing with the Dolans, the Guardians are their main revenue stream. That's the problem. That's their main revenue stream. The Dodgers owners, the Mets owners, all that stuff, these teams are not their main revenue streams. Dan Gilbert, everyone loves Dan Gilbert. The Cavs are not his main revenue stream. He's got, I think he's divested from the casinos, but he had the casinos. And he's got Rocket Mortgage and all this other stuff. The only thing that's going on here for Cleveland's owners right now is the Guardians. They don't have outside business ventures. Even Oakland, even Athletics owner John Fisher, his family owns the Gap. He's got outside money coming in that's not tied to baseball revenue. Cleveland doesn't have that. David Blitzer certainly does, but he's got his hands in a lot of pots, and now he's got his hands in building an arena that is committed with his business partner to build 50-50 on with the public. It makes me wonder about the commitment here and what we can really expect going forward from him. I don't know what that means. I don't have any answers for that. I don't think we're going to get any answers from that. I'm certainly not the one who's going to get it. But I don't know what we are. I want to finish up with this though. So Sunday, I went to a Cleveland Charge game for the first time. And I want to talk about how I ended up at that game. A lot of it has to do with how the Cavs are playing. The Cavs are having a great season, right? Obviously that winning makes everyone want to go to games more. It's a lot more fun. We're watching every game at home. We've been to a game this year. It's a lot more fun. I've never really been someone who pays attention to regular season basketball that much. I did during the LeBron years, but and a lot of those years even too, it was like, all right, let's just get to spring so we can see playoff basketball. Hasn't been the case this year because the Cavs have been so good and so fun to watch. And I don't know if you're paying attention, social media is kind of a mess these days, but you've got the whole team is showing up to I still want to call them Cleveland Charge. Kenny Atkins is up there at the Charge games. Donovan Mitchell, the whole team, they've been showing up at the arena at Public Hall, which, by the way, great place to see a game. Really cool old architecture, really great historic piece of Cleveland if you've never been, and really affordable tickets. I'm doing marketing here for the Cleveland Charge. But the Cavs team is showing up, and they're watching the G League. They're watching the Charge. And it just makes it a lot of fun. Like you're seeing the whole organization is committed up and down. They're playing well. The team has a lot of good chemistry right now. They're a lot of fun. And it's a whole organizational thing. Kind of the reason I ended up going to that Charge game is because we're like, well, that looks fun. They're playing at a fun arena or, an old arena. The organization really loves the commitment there. They're showing up and supporting the guys that are still grinding, trying to make it to the top level. It was a whole vibe, right? And I think that's a great way to look at how you can create more commitment from your fans and more buy-in. Just a top-down winning thing. Like, it's so contagious, right? When the regular season's fun, and especially for baseball, it's 162 games, 81 home games. It's hard to get people to commit to going to. That's why they have 20-game packages and 40-game packages and 6-packs and all this stuff. It's hard to get people to commit, especially in the summer when you're doing a lot of things. But what people are going to commit to? They're going to commit to watching if they have the chance to watch it. And they're going to say, I want to go to a game because this is fun. They're playing good. I mean, we've been to a Cavs game. We want to go to a Charge game because things are so fun and the whole organization's buying in. I haven't done that in the past. And the baseball, it's such a long season. If you want people to buy in, if you want people to commit to going to your games and buying into your franchise, going even the minor league games. I've seen when players from Lake County get promoted to Akron, they're coming back down and they're watching their teammates at Lake County. I've seen that, especially this past year when they won a championship. That's great buy-in. You got to have that product on the major league field. And it's great to have Travis Pizzana locally at Akron. I think that's really helped Cleveland, right? Having all their minor league affiliates in Cleveland. There's a logistical thing that makes sense to it for the organization, but you get a chance to see some prospects that you might see in a couple of years in Cleveland. You know, Travis was on among them, hopefully some other kids this year. But that build of commitment to winning and how it's contagious, people are going to show up and they're going to commit. Again, I haven't really bought a whole lot of Cavs tickets over the years or never had any interest in going to a Charge game until this year. But when you have a winning organization, and I think you especially need that over a long season and in a summer when people have multiple options. I know there's no other sports going on, but it's summer. People can do a lot of different things with their time and money. If you want to get people to buy in up and down your organization, commit to winning. It's contagious. It really creates that. I really felt that with going to that game. Like that was why I wanted to go, because it looked like a lot of fun. Make it fun for people. We're going into a season where the Guardians just came off of a division title and an ALCS run. And we're talking about how payroll had to be pared back and the TV deal stinks and all this other stuff. Maybe the TV thing's out of their control. I get that. I feel like it would just be a lot more fun to go into the season talking about, well, this team is really buying in on their future and they're trying to make a run. They're trying to build off of last season. I don't feel that right now. I don't feel like they're building off of last season. I don't. Let me know if you feel like you're excited for the season. I'm always excited for baseball. Obviously, I love baseball. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you this if I didn't enjoy it. And I enjoy the prospects and all that kind of stuff. And I'm looking forward to warmer weather and baseball as always. But let me know how you're feeling with the season coming up and spring training and being in 3 weeks. Let us know how you're feeling, because the offseason, I just said, is probably over for them. I don't think they're going to sign a free agent unless they get a shot at Kim on a 1-year deal. So let us know how you feel about the offseason now and how you feel going into the season coming off of last year. And let me know if you agree about building that winning culture, that culture your fans can buy into like the Cavs have done. I think you should want to see that from the Guardians. That would make me want to commit to going to games at every level, the major league level, the minor league level. That commitment and winning can be contagious for the whole thing. Could really drive a lot of things. Obviously, attendance was up last year. They were a fun team last year. So maybe it won't matter. Maybe people will come anyway because they were fun last year and they were winning. So maybe that won't matter. But it doesn't really have the feel of a team the same way the Cavs are. So let me know what you think about that, and we'll get back to you on Friday or maybe next week. That'll be a little bit of a leftover reaction. We'll do Lockdown Guardians leftovers next week with your reaction to that whole statement and comment and how you feel. Jeff will be back with you on Friday. He's doing a Reddit mailbag. So if you're over on Reddit, we're going to be more involved with Reddit this year as we try to expand our other avenues to talk to listeners and Guardians fans. So we're doing a Reddit mailbag. There's a thread up on subreddit at the corner of Carnegie and Quantario. You can check that out and submit a question for Jeff's Reddit mailbag on Friday. Again, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Auto download on Apple and Spotify, wherever you're listening these days. And sign up to be a Lockdown Guardians Insider. We'd really appreciate having you over there. You can also email the show at loguardianshow@gmail.com if you want to contribute to the show that way as well. We've also got a survey up over on the YouTube, and there's also the survey link in the description of the podcast too. If you haven't taken that, we'd love to hear some feedback from our listeners as well. Jeff will be back on Friday. Hopefully the temperatures will be better. Hopefully you're having a good week, and hopefully the Guardians will maybe sign Hassan Kim and prove me wrong. We'll see. Until then, thanks for listening, and go Guardians.